John F. Kennedy Airport, Addis Information Mike, time 0225 Zulu, wind 180 at 3, visibility 10, temperature 14, viewpoint 12, altimeter 2999 remarks, no pattern work, no light aircraft accepted at this time, use of departure and arrival procedures recommended landing runway 22 left, departing runway 22 right advise on initial contact, you have information Mike. John F. Kennedy Airport, Addis Information Mike, time 0225 Zulu, wind 180 at 3, visibility 10. John F. Kennedy Ground, Cathay 141 Heavy, ready to taxi. Cathay 141 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Fat Albert 9067, ready to taxi.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Cathay 141 Heavy. Air China 60, give way to aircraft on your left. Give way to aircraft, Air China 60. Fat Albert 9067, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Fat Albert 9067.
Florina 082 Heavy, continue taxi. Air China 60, continue taxi. John F. Kennedy Ground, Hawaiian 51 Heavy, ready to taxi. Continue taxi, Air China 60. Continue taxi, Florina 082 Heavy. China Southern 3839 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your left. Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Hawaiian 51 Heavy. November 229 Foxtrot Tango, continue taxi. Continue taxi, November 229 Foxtrot Tango.
Give way to aircraft, China Southern 3839 Heavy.
Florina 082 Heavy, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1. Air China 60, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1. Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, Air China 60. Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, Florina 082 Heavy.
American 988, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
United 440, request permission to cross runway 31 right. Attention all aircraft, please stand by, controller changes in progress. Thank you, good day, Hawaiian 51 Heavy. United 440, cross runway 13 left. American 988, cross runway 13 left. Crossing runway 13 left, United 440.
Crossing runway 13 left, American 988. Thank you, good day, Fat Albert 9067.
John F. Kennedy traffic, Air China 60 is taking off runway 22 right, remaining in the pattern. Air China 60, request frequency change. John F. Kennedy Ground, Florina 86 Super, ready for pushback with information Mike.
Air China 60, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1. Florina 86 Super, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Florina 86 Super. All Nippon 160 Super, request frequency change.
All Nippon 160 Super, stay on my frequency.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Philippines 127 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right.
Philippines 127 Heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Alpha, Kilo Echo, Philippines 127 Heavy.
All Nippon 160 Super, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
All Nippon 160 Super, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, all Nippon 160 Super. John F. Kennedy Ground, Cathay 749 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Mike, requesting runway 22 right. John F. Kennedy Ground, Turkish 86 Heavy, ready for pushback.
Turkish 86 Heavy, pushback approved. Cathay 749 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Turkish 86 Heavy. Pushback approved, Cathay 749 Heavy.
Attention all aircraft, ATIS information November is now current.
JAV 913, request permission to cross runway 22 right. JAV 913, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
JAV 913, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, JAV 913. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 713, ready to taxi to runway 22 left. John F. Kennedy Ground, Indonesia 589, ready for pushback with information November.
Indonesia 589, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Indonesia 589. John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 202 Super, ready for pushback with information Mike, requesting runway 22 right.
Emirates 202 Super, hold position.
Holding position, Emirates 202 Super. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Hawaiian 51 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right.
Qatari 704 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right. Give way to aircraft, Hawaiian 51 Heavy.
Qatari 704 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Qatari 704 Heavy. John F. Kennedy Ground, Corina 86 Super, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information Mike.
Corina 86 Super, runway 31 left, taxi via Mike Alpha, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Mike Alpha, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Corina 86 Super. John F. Kennedy Ground, Turkish 86 Heavy, ready to taxi. John F. Kennedy Ground, Cathay 749 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Mike. Thank you, Hawaiian 51 Heavy. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 713, ready to taxi to runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy Ground, Indonesia 589, ready to taxi with information November.
Cathay 749 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
All Nippon 160 Super, request permission to cross runway 22 right. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Cathay 749 Heavy.
Indonesia 589, stand by. All Nippon 160 Super, cross runway 22 right. JAV 913, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, all Nippon 160 Super. Stand by, Indonesia 589. Crossing runway 22 right, JAV 913. John F. Kennedy Ground, All Nippon 160 Super, request taxi to gate 04 at the Terminal 7. John F. Kennedy Ground, Turkish 86 Heavy, ready to taxi. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Indonesia 589, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of 13 left 31 right. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of 13 left 31 right, Indonesia 589. Crossing runway 31 right, Hawaiian 51 Heavy.
All Nippon 160 Super, taxi to Terminal 7 Gate 04 via Hotel, Alpha.
Taxiing to Terminal 7 Gate 04 via Hotel, Alpha, All Nippon 160 Super.
Turkish 86 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Turkish 86 Heavy. Holding position, Emirates 202 Super. John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 202 Super, ready for pushback with information Mike, requesting runway 22 right. Thank you, good day, Hawaiian 51 Heavy.
Emirates 202 Super, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Emirates 202 Super. Cathay 749 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
Cathay 749 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Cathay 749 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 4635, ready for pushback, requesting runway 22 right.
American 4635, pushback approved. United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, American 4635. American 2695, request permission to cross runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 713, ready to taxi to runway 31 right.
American 2695, cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 2695.
American 713, taxi to runway 31 right, contact tower when ready.
American 2206, request permission to cross runway 31 right. Taxiing to runway 31 right, American 713.
American 2206, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 2206.
Turkish 2, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 1850, ready for pushback with information November. Lot 1850, pushback approved. Turkish 2, cross runway 31 right. Pushback approved, Lot 1850.
Crossing runway 31 right, Turkish 2.
American 713, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Qatar Cargo 22, ready for pushback with information November. John F. Kennedy Ground, Air Force 2, ready for pushback with information November.
Lufthansa 52 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Qatar Cargo 22, pushback approved. American 713, cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, Qatar Cargo 22. Crossing runway 31 right, American 713.
United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, check out its frequency for airfield information. Air Force 2, pushback approved. Lufthansa 52 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, Air Force 2.
Crossing runway 31 right, Lufthansa 52 Super.
John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 202 Super, ready to taxi with information Mike.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 12 Heavy, ready for pushback.
Turkish 86 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
Emirates 202 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Turkish 86 Heavy, cross runway 31 right. Indonesia 589, cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 209 Heavy, request taxi to gate B41 at the Terminal 4. Crossing runway 31 right, Turkish 86 Heavy. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Emirates 202 Super.
Delta 12 Heavy, pushback approved. Delta 209 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B41 via Juliet, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Pushback approved, Delta 12 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, United 418, ready for pushback with information November. Crossing runway 31 right, Indonesia 589. Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B41 via Juliet, Bravo, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Delta 209 Heavy.
United 418, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, United 418.
Singapore 23 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Singapore 23 Heavy, hold short of runway 31 right.
Delta 209 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 31 right, Singapore 23 Heavy.
Turkish 86 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right. John F. Kennedy ground, lot 1850, ready to taxi with information November. Delta 209 Heavy, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Delta 209 Heavy.
Lot 1850, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of 13 left 31 right.
John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 446 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of 13 left 31 right, lot 1850. Emirates 446 Heavy, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy ground, United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, American 4635, ready to taxi to runway 22 right. John F. Kennedy ground, Air Force 2, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, Air Canada 8301 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy.
Holding position, Air Canada 8301 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 317, request taxi to parking.
American 4635, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of 13 left 31 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of 13 left 31 right, American 4635.
JetBlue 317, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, JetBlue 317.
Air Force 2, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Air Force 2. John F. Kennedy ground, Qatar Cargo 22, ready to taxi with information November. John F. Kennedy ground, United 418, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
United 418, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Qatar Cargo 22, runway 22 right, taxi via Whiskey, Charlie, Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right via Whiskey, Charlie, Echo, Qatar Cargo 22.
Lot 1850, cross runway 31 right. Crossing runway 31 right, lot 1850.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, United 418.
American 4635, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 4635.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 12 Heavy, ready to taxi. JetBlue 317, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
JetBlue 317, cross runway 22 right. Delta 209 Heavy, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, JetBlue 317.
John F. Kennedy ground, Air Canada 8301 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 22 right, Delta 209 Heavy.
Delta 12 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 446 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
Air Canada 8301 Heavy, pushback approved.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Delta 12 heavy.
Pushback approved. Air Canada 8301 heavy.
Emirates 446 heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Emirates 446 heavy.
Singapore 23 heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Emirates 202 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Singapore 23 heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Singapore 23 heavy.
Emirates 202 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Emirates 202 Super.
Fat Albert 9067, cross runway 31 right. Crossing runway 31 right, Fat Albert 9067.
John F. Kennedy ground, Air Canada 8301 heavy, ready to taxi with information November. Air Canada 8301 heavy, disregard last message. John F. Kennedy ground, Air Canada 8301 heavy, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
Air Canada 8301 heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Air Canada 8301 heavy.
Air Force 2, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
Air Force 2, hold short of runway 31 right.
Hold short of runway 31 right, Air Force 2. United 418, request permission to cross runway 13 right.
United 418, hold short of runway 31 right.
Hold short of runway 31 right, United 418.
Air Canada 8301 heavy, taxi to start via. Air Canada 8301 heavy, turn left next taxiway.
Left on the next taxiway, Air Canada 8301 heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, American 349, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Turkish 86 heavy, give way to aircraft on your right. American 349, pushback approved.
Give way to aircraft, Turkish 86 heavy. Pushback approved, American 349. United 418, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Delta 12 heavy, give way to aircraft ahead. United 418, cross runway 31 right.
Give way to aircraft, Delta 12 heavy.
Crossing runway 31 right, United 418.
Air Force 2, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Air Force 2.
Thank you, good day, Delta 209 heavy.
Air Canada 8301 heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Golf, Bravo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Golf, Bravo, Air Canada 8301 heavy.
Thank you, good day, Fat Albert 9067.
John F. Kennedy Ground, United 3783 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right.
United 3783 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, United 3783 Heavy.
Air Canada 8301 Heavy, request frequency change.
Air Canada 8301 Heavy, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 2466 Heavy, request taxi to gate B31 at the Terminal 4.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 349, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, Air Canada 8301 Heavy.
Delta 2466 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B31 via Hotel, Alpha, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B31 via Hotel, Alpha, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Delta 2466 Heavy.
American 349, runway 31 left, taxi via Mike Alpha, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Mike Alpha, Alpha, Kilo Echo, American 349.
Delta 2466 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Delta 2466 Heavy, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Delta 2466 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, United 3783 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
United 3783 Heavy, runway 22 right, taxi via Charlie 7, Charlie, Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right via Charlie 7, Charlie, Echo, United 3783 Heavy.
United 3783 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right.
Emirates 446 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Give way to aircraft, United 3783 Heavy.
Emirates 446 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Emirates 446 Heavy.
Delta 12 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Delta 12 Heavy.
American 349, request frequency change.
American 349, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1.
Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, American 349.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 555 Super, ready for pushback with information November.
Delta 2466 Heavy, cross runway 22 right. American 555 Super, pushback approved.
Crossing runway 22 right, Delta 2466 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, ready for pushback with information Mike.
Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Atomic 49, ready to taxi with information November.
Atomic 49, check out its frequency for airfield information.
Emirates 202 Super, request frequency change.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 555 Super, ready to taxi with information November.
Emirates 202 Super, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1.
Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, Emirates 202 Super.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Atomic 49, ready to taxi with information November.
American 555 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 555 Super.
Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, request permission to cross runway 22 right. Atomic 49, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Atomic 49.
Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, hold short of runway 22 right. Hold short of runway 22 right, Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha. Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec, runway 31 left, taxi via Hotel Bravo, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Hotel Bravo, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Singapore 001 Sierra Quebec.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, request taxi to gate A08 at the Terminal 4. Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, taxi to Terminal 4 gate A08 via Hotel, Alpha, hold short of 4 left 22 right. Taxi into Terminal 4 gate A08 via Hotel, Alpha, with hold short of 4 left 22 right, Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Air India 12 Lima, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left. John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, ready to taxi with information Mike. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 951, ready for pushback with information November. John F. Kennedy Ground, Cathay 332 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Air India 12 Lima, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Air India 12 Lima.
Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, stands by. American 951, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, American 951.
Cathay 332 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Cathay 332 Heavy.
Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, cross runway 22 right. Crossing runway 22 right, Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha. Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super.
American 555 Super, cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 1630, ready for pushback with information November. Crossing runway 31 right, American 555 Super.
Delta 1630, pushback approved, tail to the west.
Pushback approved, tail to the west, Delta 1630.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Air India 12 Lima, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November. John F. Kennedy ground, American 951, ready to taxi with information November.
Air India 12 Lima, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. John F. Kennedy ground, Caribbean 550 Victor Alpha, request taxi to gate A21 at the Terminal 4.
Air India 12 Lima, disregard last message.
American 951, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, Air India 12 Lima, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November. Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 951.
Emirates 45 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 left.
Emirates 45 Super, cross runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 31 left, Emirates 45 Super. John F. Kennedy ground, Cathay 332 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, Japan Air 598 Super, ready for pushback with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 45 Super, request taxi to stand D3 at the Terminal 4D ice pad.
John F. Kennedy ground, Malaysian 217, ready for pushback with information November.
Cathay 332 Heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Hotel Bravo, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready. Air India 12 Lima, continue taxi.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Hotel Bravo, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Cathay 332 Heavy.
Continue taxi, Air India 12 Lima.
Emirates 45 Super, taxi to Terminal 4D ice pad stand D3, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4D ice pad stand D3, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Emirates 45 Super.
Japan Air 598 Super, pushback approved. Malaysian 217, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Japan Air 598 Super. Pushback approved, Malaysian 217. I'm sorry, Air India 12 Lima.
John F. Kennedy ground, Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right.
Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha, pushback approved. Air India 12 Lima, hold position.
Pushback approved, Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha.
Holding position, Air India 12 Lima.
Atomic 49, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
American 951, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Atomic 49, cross runway 31 right.
Singapore 290 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Atomic 49.
American 951, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 951.
Singapore 290 Heavy, cross runway 22 right. Emirates 45 Super, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, Singapore 290 Heavy.
Crossing runway 22 right, Emirates 45 Super.
Air India 12 Lima, continue taxi.
John F. Kennedy ground, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, ready for pushback with information November.
Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, hold position.
Continue taxi, Air India 12 Lima. Holding position, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533.
John F. Kennedy ground, November 38 Alpha Super, ready for pushback with information November. November 38 Alpha Super, pushback approved.
Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, November 38 Alpha Super. Singapore 290 Heavy, give way to aircraft ahead.
John F. Kennedy ground, Singapore 290 Heavy, request taxi to gate 07 at the Terminal 1.
Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Emirates 8 Uniform Whiskey Super.
Singapore 290 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 1 Gate 07 via Alpha, Kilo, Bravo, Mike Bravo.
Taxiing to Terminal 1 Gate 07 via Alpha, Kilo, Bravo, Mike Bravo, Singapore 290 Heavy.
Air India 12 Lima, give way to aircraft ahead. Singapore 290 Heavy, continue taxi.
Give way to aircraft, Air India 12 Lima. Continue taxi, Singapore 290 Heavy. John F. Kennedy Ground, Malaysian 217, ready to taxi with information November.
Malaysian 217, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Malaysian 217. John F. Kennedy Ground, JetBlue 784, ready for pushback with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
JetBlue 784, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, JetBlue 784.
Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha, runway 31 left, taxi via Foxtrot, Bravo, contact tower when ready.
Cactus 1549, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Cactus 1549, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Cactus 1549. Taxiing to runway 31 left via Foxtrot, Bravo, Air Canada 371 Victor Alpha.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 231, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right. Japan Air 598 Super, request frequency change.
American 231, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Corina 7763 Super, ready for pushback with information November.
Pushback approved, American 231.
Corina 7763 Super, pushback approved. John F. Kennedy Ground, November 38 Alpha Super, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, ready for pushback with information November.
Pushback approved, Corina 7763 Super.
Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533.
November 38 Alpha Super, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of 13 left 31 right. Cactus 1549, cross runway 22 right. Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of 13 left 31 right, November 38 Alpha Super.
Crossing runway 22 right, Cactus 1549. John F. Kennedy Ground, Cactus 1549, request taxi to gate B41 at the Terminal 4.
Cactus 1549, taxi to Terminal 4 Gate B41 via Hotel, Alpha, Golf, Bravo.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 Gate B41 via Hotel, Alpha, Golf, Bravo, Cactus 1549.
John F. Kennedy Ground, JetBlue 784, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Corina 7763 Super, ready to taxi with information November.
JetBlue 784, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of 13 left 31 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of 13 left 31 right, JetBlue 784.
Corina 7763 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Corina 7763 Super.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Cathay 831 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November. John F. Kennedy Ground, United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Japan Air 598 Super, ready to taxi with information November. Air India 12 Lima, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, United 777 Zulu X-Ray Heavy.
Cathay 831 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved. Cathay 831 Heavy.
Air India 12 Lima, cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 1202, request taxi to parking.
Crossing runway 31 right, Air India 12 Lima.
Delta 1202, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, Delta 1202. Delta 1202, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Japan Air 598 Super, runway 31 left, taxi via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, American 231, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
Delta 1202, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Delta 1202.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Japan Air 598 Super.
American 231, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, ready to taxi with information November. JetBlue 784, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533.
JetBlue 784, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, JetBlue 784.
John F. Kennedy ground, Fat Albert 9067, ready to taxi. Stand by, Fat Albert 9067. John F. Kennedy ground, Fat Albert 9067, request taxi to parking. Fat Albert 9067, taxi to parking, at your discretion. Taxi to parking, Fat Albert 9067.
Japan Air 598 Super, request frequency change.
Corina 7763 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Japan Air 598 Super, contact John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1.
Contacting John F. Kennedy Tower on 119.1, Japan Air 598 Super.
Corina 7763 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Corina 7763 Super.
Malaysian 217, cross runway 31 right. November 38 Alpha Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Malaysian 217.
Crossing runway 31 right, November 38 Alpha Super.
John F. Kennedy ground, United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, Cathay 831 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November. Taxiing to runway 22 right, United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy.
Cathay 831 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, American 4 Fight Heavy, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Cathay 831 Heavy. United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
United 777 Zulu X-ray Heavy, please follow instructions. American 45 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, American 4 Fight Heavy. John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 732, request taxi to gate B47 at the Terminal 4.
Delta 732, taxi to Terminal 4 Gate B47 via Juliet, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, 9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right.
9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike, pushback approved.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 Gate B47 via Juliet, Bravo, will hold short at 4 left 22 right, Delta 732.
Pushback approved, 9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike.
Delta 732, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Delta 732, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short at runway 22 right, Delta 732.
Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Foxtrot Golf Sierra 0533.
Cathay 831 Heavy, cross runway 31 right. American 231, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Cathay 831 Heavy.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 231.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 45 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
American 45 Heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, American 45 Heavy.
Delta 732, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, Delta 732.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Alaska 007, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right.
Alaska 007, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Alaska 007.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Alaska 879, ready for pushback with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 477, request taxi to gate 34 at the Terminal 8.
Alaska 879, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy Ground, 9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Pidu, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 28 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
American 477, taxi to Terminal 8 Gate 34, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
WestJet 1680, request permission to cross runway 31 left.
Lot 28 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Lot 28 Heavy.
Taxiing to Terminal 8 Gate 34, will hold short at 4 left 22 right, American 477.
WestJet 1680, cross runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 31 left, WestJet 1680.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 332 Alpha Alpha, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 left.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 7 Lima X-Ray, ready for pushback with information November. American 332 Alpha Alpha, hold position.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Alaska 007, ready to taxi to runway 22 right with information November.
Hold in position, American 332 Alpha Alpha.
WestJet 1680, taxi to Terminal 4 Gate A06 via Bravo, Hotel Bravo, hold short of Hotel Bravo.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 Gate A06 via Bravo, Hotel Bravo, will hold short of Hotel Bravo, WestJet 1680.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 1357, request taxi to Gate 38 at the Terminal 8. John F. Kennedy Ground, United 879, ready for pushback.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Alaska 007.
Taxiing to Terminal 8 Gate 38, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, American 1357. United 879, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pidu, pushback approved. Pushback approved. Tail to the north. United 879.
Pushback approved. Pidu.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 1567, request taxi to gate B31 at the Terminal 4.
Delta 1567, hold short of runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 28 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November. Hold short of runway 22 right, Delta 1567, Alaska 007, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Alaska 007, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Alaska 007.
Lot 28 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Pidu, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Lot 28 Heavy.
Pidu, taxi to runway 31 left, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 31 left, Pidu.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 168 Heavy, request taxi to gate 04 at the Terminal 8.
9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
American 168 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 8 gate 04, hold short of 4 left 22 right. 9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, 9 Victor Tango Oscar Mike.
Taxiing to Terminal 8 gate 04, will hold short at 4 left 22 right, American 168 Heavy.
Holding position, Lot 7 Lima X-ray. American 1357, cross runway 22 right. Crossing runway 22 right, American 1357. John F. Kennedy Ground, United 879, ready to taxi. Lot 7 Lima X-ray, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, Lot 7 Lima X-ray. United 879, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, United 879. WestJet 1680, continue taxi. Delta 1567, cross runway 22 right.
Continue taxi, WestJet 1680.
Crossing runway 22 right, Delta 1567.
American 168 Heavy, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, American 168 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 241, ready for pushback with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Cayman 345, request taxi to gate 01 at the Terminal 1.
Emirates 241, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Emirates 241.
American 332 Alpha Alpha, pushback approved, tail to the north. Cayman 345, taxi to Terminal 1 gate 01, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 1 gate 01, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Cayman 345.
John F. Kennedy Ground, JetBlue 955, ready for pushback with information November.
United 879, cross runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy ground, Lot 7 Lima X-ray, ready to taxi with information November. JetBlue 955, pushback approved, tail to the south. Crossing runway 31 right, United 879. Lot 28 heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Lot 28 heavy.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, American 332 Alpha Alpha.
Lot 7 Lima X-ray, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Lot 7 Lima X-ray.
Pushback approved, tail to the south, JetBlue 955.
John F. Kennedy ground, November 274 Foxtrot Mike, request taxi to gate B39 at the Terminal 4.
November 274 Foxtrot Mike, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B39 via Hotel, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B39 via Hotel, Bravo, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, November 274 Foxtrot Mike.
John F. Kennedy ground, EVA 31 heavy, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 22 right.
EVA 31 heavy, pushback approved. Pidu, hold position.
Pushback approved, EVA 31 heavy.
Holding position, Pidu. November 274 Foxtrot Mike, request permission to cross runway 4 left.
November 274 Foxtrot Mike, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, November 274 Foxtrot Mike.
Cayman 345, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, Cayman 345. John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 241, ready to taxi with information November. John F. Kennedy ground, Havoc 13, request taxi to parking.
American 1357, taxi to Terminal 8 gate 38 via Mike Alpha, Bravo, Mike Bravo, Alpha, Sierra Alpha. Taxiing to Terminal 8 gate 38 via Mike Alpha, Bravo, Mike Bravo, Alpha, Sierra Alpha, American 1357. Havoc 13, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, Havoc 13.
Emirates 241, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy ground, American 332 Alpha Alpha, ready to taxi with information November. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Emirates 241. John F. Kennedy ground, Pidu, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
American 332 Alpha Alpha, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 332 Alpha Alpha.
John F. Kennedy ground, Victory 564, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 955, ready to taxi with information November.
Victory 564, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Victory 564. JetBlue 955, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, JetBlue 955.
Thank you, good day, WestJet 1680. Stand by, American 1145. John F. Kennedy ground, Cactus 1549, ready for pushback with information November.
November 274 Foxtrot Mike, please follow instructions. Cactus 1549, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Cactus 1549. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 1145, request taxi to gate B49 at the Terminal 4.
American 1145, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B49 via Hotel, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 2 right.
Pidu, request frequency change.
Stand by, Lot 7 Lima X-ray.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B49 via Hotel, Bravo, will hold short of 4 left 2 right, American 1145. John F. Kennedy Ground, Hawaiian 635 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Hawaiian 635 Heavy, pushback approved. November 274 Foxtrot Mike, taxi to start via.
Pushback approved, Hawaiian 635 Heavy. Taxiing to start via, November 274 Foxtrot Mike.
November 274 Foxtrot Mike, taxi to runway 22 right, hold short of Golf.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, will hold short of Golf, November 274 Foxtrot Mike.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 3 Sierra Sierra, ready for pushback with information November.
American 1145, request permission to cross runway 4 left.
American 3 Sierra Sierra, pushback approved. American 1145, hold short of runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, American 3 Sierra Sierra.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Mistral 412 India Golf, request taxi to parking.
Pushback approved, Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy.
Mistral 412 India Golf, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Cactus 1549, ready to taxi with information November.
Victory 564, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Taxi to parking, Mistral 412 India Golf. Hold short of runway 22 right, American 1145.
Victory 564, cross runway 31 right. Crossing runway 31 right, Victory 564. Cactus 1549, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Cactus 1549. American 332 Alpha Alpha, request permission to cross runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy Ground, Speedbird 207 Heavy, ready for pushback. JetBlue 955, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Royal Air Merrick 645 Alpha Tango, ready for pushback with information November.
Royal Air Maroc 645 Alpha Tango, pushback approved, tail to the north. American 332 Alpha Alpha, cross runway 31 right.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Royal Air Merrick 645 Alpha Tango.
JetBlue 955, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, JetBlue 955.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 332 Alpha Alpha.
Speedbird 207 Heavy, pushback approved. John F. Kennedy Ground, November 38 Alpha Super, ready for pushback with information November. November 38 Alpha Super, pushback approved. Pushback approved, November 38 Alpha Super. Victory 564, give way to aircraft on your right. Give way to aircraft, Victory 564. John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 18 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November. Delta 18 Heavy, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Eva 31 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Hawaiian 635 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
Pushback approved, Delta 18 Heavy. Hawaiian 635 Heavy, runway 31 left, taxi via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 3 Sierra Sierra, ready to taxi with information November.
Taxiing to runway 31 left via Kilo Foxtrot, Alpha, Kilo Echo, Hawaiian 635 Heavy. American 1145, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
American 3 Sierra Sierra, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
American 1145, cross runway 22 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 3 Sierra Sierra.
Crossing runway 22 right, American 1145.
Eva 31 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Eva 31 Heavy.
Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy.
American 1145, hold position.
Holding position, American 1145.
John F. Kennedy ground, stand by. John F. Kennedy ground, continue taxi. Emirates 241, cross runway 31 right. John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 3387, ready for pushback with information November. Lot 7 Lima X-ray, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Emirates 241.
Cactus 1549, cross runway 31 right. Crossing runway 31 right, Lot 7 Lima X-ray. JetBlue 3387, pushback approved.
Crossing runway 31 right, Cactus 1549.
Pushback approved, JetBlue 3387.
John F. Kennedy ground, Royal Air Merrick 645 Alpha Tango, ready to taxi with information November.
Mistral 412 India Golf, cross runway 22 right. John F. Kennedy ground, November 38 Alpha Super, ready to taxi with information November. Royal Air Maroc 645 Alpha Tango, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Royal Air Merrick 645 Alpha Tango. John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 855, request taxi to gate B32 at the Terminal 4.
November 38 Alpha Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, November 38 Alpha Super.
John F. Kennedy ground, Speedbird 207 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 22 right.
Delta 855, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B32, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B32, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Delta 855.
John F. Kennedy ground, Condor 647, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 4 left. Speedbird 207 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Condor 647, pushback approved.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Speedbird 207 Heavy.
Pushback approved, Condor 647.
John F. Kennedy ground, United 869 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
United 869 Heavy, pushback approved. John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 18 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
Pushback approved, United 869 Heavy.
Delta 18 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Delta 18 Heavy. John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 3387, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, Emirates 678 Super, ready for pushback with information November.
JetBlue 3387, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Emirates 678 Super, pushback approved. Taxiing to runway 22 right, JetBlue 3387.
Pushback approved, Emirates 678 Super.
Delta 855, request permission to cross runway 4 left.
John F. Kennedy ground, November 691 Hotel Kilo, ready for pushback with information November.
American 3 Sierra Sierra, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
November 691 Hotel Kilo, pushback approved. American 3 Sierra Sierra, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 3 Sierra Sierra.
John F. Kennedy ground, Condor 647, ready to taxi to runway 4 left with information November. Delta 855, cross runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 31 left, Delta 855.
Condor 647, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Pushback approved, November 691 Hotel Kilo. Taxi into runway 22 right, Condor 647.
John F. Kennedy ground, United 869 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
JetBlue 3387, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Delta 855, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
Eva 31 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
United 869 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. JetBlue 3387, cross runway 31 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, United 869 Heavy.
Crossing runway 31 right, JetBlue 3387. EVA 31 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, EVA 31 Heavy.
Delta 855, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Delta 855.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Emirates 678 Super, ready to taxi with information November.
Emirates 678 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxi to runway 22 right, Emirates 678 Super.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 27, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Lot 27, pushback approved. American 3 Sierra, give way to aircraft on your right. Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy, cross runway 31 right. November 38 Alpha Super, cross runway 31 right.
Give way to aircraft, American 3 Sierra.
Royal Air Morocco 645 Alpha Tango, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Victor Tango Zulu Alpha Mike Heavy. Pushback approved, Lot 27.
John F. Kennedy Ground, November 691 Hotel Kilo, ready to taxi with information November.
Crossing runway 31 right, Royal Air Merrick 645 Alpha Tango.
November 691 Hotel Kilo, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, November 691 Hotel Kilo. Emirates 678 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Emirates 678 Super.
Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, request permission to cross runway 4 left.
Delta 18 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left. Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, hold short of runway 22 right. Delta 18 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha.
Crossing runway 31 right, Delta 18 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, JetBlue 230, request taxi to parking.
JetBlue 230, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, JetBlue 230.
November 38 Alpha Super, request permission to cross runway 13 left. November 38 Alpha Super, you were already instructed to cross the runway. Roger, November 38 Alpha Super. I'm sorry, November 38 Alpha Super.
JetBlue 230, request permission to cross runway 13 right.
JetBlue 230, cross runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 31 left, JetBlue 230.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Lot 27, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November. United 869 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
November 418 Echo Sierra, request permission to cross runway 22 right. Lot 27, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. United 869 Heavy, cross runway 31 right. November 418 Echo Sierra, hold short of runway 22 right.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Lot 27. Crossing runway 31 right, United 869 Heavy.
Hold short of runway 22 right, November 418 Echo Sierra. Delta 18 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right. Give way to aircraft, Delta 18 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Shamrock 280 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November. John F. Kennedy Ground, Devil 1, request taxi to gate B45 at the Terminal 4. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 001 Super, ready for pushback with information November.
Devil 1, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B45 via Hotel, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 22 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 Gate B45 by Hotel, Bravo, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, Devil 1.
American 001 Super, pushback approved, tail to the north. Shamrock 280 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Shamrock 280 Heavy.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, American 001 Super.
November 418 Echo Sierra, cross runway 22 right. Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, hold short of runway 22 right. Crossing runway 22 right, November 418 Echo Sierra. Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, cross runway 22 right. Condor 647, requests permission to cross runway 13 left. Condor 647, cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, request taxi to parking.
John F. Kennedy Ground, November 418 Echo Sierra, request taxi to stand 01 at the Jean Little Aviation Land. Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, taxi to parking, at your discretion. November 418 Echo Sierra, taxi to Jean Little Aviation Land stand 01 via Hotel, Alpha, Quebec.
Taxi to parking, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha.
Taxi into Jean Little Aviation Land stand 01 via Hotel, Alpha, Quebec, November 418 Echo Sierra. Crossing runway 31 right, Condor 647.
Emirates 678 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right. Air Canada 651, request permission to cross runway 31 left.
Emirates 678 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Emirates 678 Super.
Air Canada 651, cross runway 31 left.
Crossing runway 31 left, Air Canada 651.
Devil 1, hold short of runway 22 right. Devil 1, disregard last message. Devil 1, cross runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Air Canada 651, request taxi to parking.
Crossing runway 22 right, Devil 1.
Air Canada 651, taxi to parking, at your discretion. John F. Kennedy Ground, American 722, ready for pushback with information November.
Taxi to parking, Air Canada 651.
American 722, pushback approved. Pushback approved, American 722.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 001 Super, ready to taxi with information November. Thank you, good day, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha.
American 001 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. United 869 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right.
Give way to aircraft, United 869 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Shamrock 280 Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 001 Super. John F. Kennedy Ground, Italy 013, ready for pushback with information November.
Shamrock 280 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. iFly 013, pushback approved.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Shamrock 280 Heavy.
Pushback approved, Italy 013.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 722, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy Ground, JetBlue 7, ready for pushback with information November.
JetBlue 7, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, JetBlue 7.
American 722, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 22 right, American 722.
John F. Kennedy ground, Scandinavian 916 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November. John F. Kennedy ground, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, ready for pushback with information November. Lot 27, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
John F. Kennedy traffic, Baskin 8157 X-ray is on left base, runway 22 left.
John F. Kennedy traffic, American 888 is clear of all runways. John F. Kennedy traffic, Shamrock 1 Lima Hotel is 24 nautical miles to the northeast at 5,800 feet, inbound for landing, will make straight into runway 22 right. John F. Kennedy traffic, Lot 27, crossing runway 13 left. John F. Kennedy traffic, Kenya 26 Alpha India Super is on final, runway 22 left. John F. Kennedy traffic, American 888, holding short runway 22 right. Lot 27, request frequency change. Lot 27, request permission to cross runway 13 left. American 888, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Lot 27, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Lot 27.
American 888, hold short of runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy ground, Lot 8911 Super, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Hold short of runway 22 right, American 888.
Lot 8911 Super, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy ground, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, ready for pushback.
Pushback approved, Lot 8911 Super. John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 7, ready to taxi with information November.
John F. Kennedy ground, Scandinavian 916 Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy ground, Italy 013, ready to taxi with information November. Pushback approved, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha.
Attention all aircraft, ATIS information Oscar is now current. iFly 013, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Italy 013.
American 722, request permission to cross runway 31 right. American 888, cross runway 22 right. American 722, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, American 888.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 722.
John F. Kennedy ground, Lot 8911 Super, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
Shamrock 280 Heavy, give way to aircraft on your right. Speedbird 207 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Give way to aircraft, Shamrock 280 Heavy.
Crossing runway 31 right, Speedbird 207 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, Scandinavian 916 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar. John F. Kennedy ground, American 888, request taxi to gate B33 at the Terminal 4. John F. Kennedy ground, contact 412 India Golf, ready for pushback with information Oscar, requesting runway 31 left.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy, ready for pushback with information November.
Lot 8911 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Lot 8911 Super.
American 888, taxi to Terminal 4 Gate B33 via Bravo, hold short of Bravo. Contract 412 India Golf, pushback approved.
John F. Kennedy ground, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, ready to taxi.
Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, contract 412 India Golf. Taxiing to Terminal 4 Gate B33 via Bravo, will hold short of Bravo, American 888.
Scandinavian 916 Heavy, pushback approved.
Pushback approved. Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy.
Pushback approved, Scandinavian 916 Heavy.
Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxi to runway 22 right, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha. John F. Kennedy ground, Kenya 26 Alpha India Super, request taxi to parking. John F. Kennedy ground, Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Kenya 26 Alpha India Super, taxi to parking, at your discretion. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, pushback approved.
Taxi to parking, Kenya 26 Alpha India Super.
Royal Air Maroc 645 Alpha Tango, give way to aircraft ahead.
Give way to aircraft, Royal Air Maroc 645 Alpha Tango.
Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Aeromexico 24 Victor Alpha. Pushback approved, Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy.
American 001 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, American 001 Super.
American 888, continue taxi.
76 Alpha India Super, request permission to cross runway 4 left. Continue taxi, American 888.
Kenya 26 Alpha India Super, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Kenya 26 Alpha India Super. John F. Kennedy ground, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, hold position.
Hold in position, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy. John F. Kennedy ground, contract 412 India Golf, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information Oscar.
John F. Kennedy ground, Alaska 15, request taxi to gate 07 at the Terminal 7.
Contract 412 India Golf, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, contract 412 India Golf.
Alaska 15, taxi to Terminal 7 Gate 07, hold short of 4 right 22 left.
John F. Kennedy ground, Scandinavian 916 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Taxiing to Terminal 7 Gate 07, will hold short of 4 right 22 left, Alaska 15.
Hold in position, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 1226 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, disregard last message.
Scandinavian 916 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. Delta 1226 Heavy, hold position.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Scandinavian 916 Heavy.
Holding position, Delta 1226 Heavy.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, hold position.
Hold in position, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy. Thank you, good day, American 888. John F. Kennedy ground, Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Hawaiian 51 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy ground, Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy, ready to taxi with information November.
Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right. Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy. John F. Kennedy Ground, Avianca 7395, ready for pushback with information November, requesting runway 31 left.
Avianca 7395, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Avianca 7395.
iFly 013, cross runway 31 right. Lot 8911 Super, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Italy 013.
Crossing runway 31 right, lot 8911 Super.
Delta 1226 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north.
Pushback approved, tail to the north. Delta 1226 Heavy. Alaska 15, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Alaska 15, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Alaska 15.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 1226 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy.
Delta 1226 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 13 left.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Delta 1226 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, American 166, request taxi to gate B43 at the Terminal 4.
American 166, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B43 via Hotel, Bravo, hold short of 4 left 22 right. Hawaiian 51 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Scandinavian 916 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right. Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B43 via Hotel, Bravo, will hold short of 4 left 22 right, American 166.
Scandinavian 916 Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Hawaiian Flight 1 Heavy. Crossing runway 31 right, Scandinavian 916 Heavy.
Alaska 15, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, Alaska 15. John F. Kennedy Ground, Avianca 7395, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information November.
Avianca 7395, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Avianca 7395.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Qatari 928 Heavy, request taxi to gate B32 at the Terminal 4.
Qatari 928 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 4 gate B32, hold short of 4 left 2 right.
Taxiing to Terminal 4 gate B32, will hold short of 4 left 2 right, Qatari 928 Heavy. Contract 412 India Golf, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Contract 412 India Golf, cross runway 31 right. Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, contract 412 India Golf.
Crossing runway 31 right, Delta 31 Delta Lima Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 1717, ready for pushback with information Oscar. Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, requests permission to cross runway 13 left.
Air Mauritius 129 Heavy, cross runway 31 right. Delta 1717, pushback approved.
Crossing runway 31 right, Air Mauritius 129 Heavy. Pushback approved, Delta 1717.
American 166, cross runway 22 right. Qatari 928 Heavy, cross runway 22 right.
Crossing runway 22 right, American 166. Crossing runway 22 right, Qatari 928 Heavy.
American 166, please expedite.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1. Delta 1226 Heavy, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Delta 1226 Heavy, cross runway 31 right. Avianca 7395, cross runway 31 right.
Crossing runway 31 right, Avianca 7395. Crossing runway 31 right, Delta 1226 Heavy.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta 1717, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Delta 1717, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Delta 1717.
Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1.
Thank you, American 166. John F. Kennedy Ground, Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, ready for pushback with information Oscar, requesting runway 31 left.
Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, pushback approved.
Pushback approved, Delta X-Ray Juliet 17.
Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Singapore 23 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1, cross runway 31 right. Singapore 23 Heavy, pushback approved.
Crossing runway 31 right, Hotel Zulu Victor India Papa 1.
Pushback approved, Singapore 23 Heavy.
Attention all aircraft, please stand by, controller changes in progress.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Singapore 876 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Singapore 876 Heavy, stand by.
John F. Kennedy traffic, JetBlue 787 is on final, runway 22 left.
John F. Kennedy traffic, American 722 is taking off runway 22 right, departing straight out.
John F. Kennedy traffic, Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, taxiing to runway 31 left.
John F. Kennedy Ground, Global 1226 Super, ready for pushback.
Global 1226 Super, pushback approved, tail to the north. John F. Kennedy ground, Singapore 876 Heavy, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Pushback approved, tail to the north. Global 1226 Super.
Singapore 876 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the west. Pushback approved, tail to the west, Singapore 876 Heavy. Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, request permission to cross runway 22 right. John F. Kennedy ground, JetBlue 787, request taxi to gate 09 at the Terminal 5. Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. JetBlue 787, taxi to Terminal 5 gate 09. Taxiing to Terminal 5 gate 09, JetBlue 787. Delta 1717, request permission to cross runway 13 left. Delta 1717, cross runway 31 right. Crossing runway 31 right, Delta 1717. John F. Kennedy ground, Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, ready to taxi to runway 31 left with information Oscar. Delta X-Ray Juliet 17, please follow instructions.
John F. Kennedy ground, Global 1226 Super, ready to taxi.
Global 1226 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. John F. Kennedy ground, lot 265, ready for pushback with information Papa. Global 1226 Super, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. John F. Kennedy ground, Singapore 876 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar. Lot 265, pushback approved.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Global 1226 Super.
Pushback approved, lot 265. John F. Kennedy ground, November 274 Foxtrot Mike, ready for pushback with information Oscar.
Global 1226 Super, request permission to cross runway 31 right.
Delta 1717, request frequency change.
John F. Kennedy ground, Endeavour 5272, request taxi to parking.
Singapore 876 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready. JetBlue 787, request permission to cross runway 22 right. Delta 1717, contact John F. Kennedy tower on 119.1. Taxiing to runway 22 right, Singapore 876 Heavy. Global 1226 Super, cross runway 31 right. Contacting John F. Kennedy tower on 119.1, Delta 1717.
Crossing runway 31 right, Global 1226 Super.
JetBlue 787, hold short of runway 22 right.
John F. Kennedy ground, Singapore 23 Heavy, ready to taxi with information Oscar.
Hold short of runway 22 right, JetBlue 787. November 274 Foxtrot Mike, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, November 274 Foxtrot Mike. Singapore 23 Heavy, taxi to runway 22 right, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 22 right, Singapore 23 Heavy.
Endeavour 5272, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, Endeavour 5272.
JetBlue 787, cross runway 22 right. Crossing runway 22 right, JetBlue 787.
Endeavour 5272, request permission to cross runway 22 right.
Endeavour 5272, hold short of runway 22 right.
Hold short of runway 22 right, Endeavour 5272.